You know, I'll talk about something that Steve Burns was talking about, spotters struggling here. And right here on the front stretch where you see Ricky Rudd, as he drives away from the spotters, you have the spotters view right here. Right there, when you're running side by side, they're going away from you, and it's hard to clear you. We used to use a spotter in the infield down there near turns ones just because of that reason.
Yeah, we always put one over on the back straightaway at the tunnel, right outside the tunnel there.
Our singular virtual crew chief comes at you a few times today. And there is our first question of the day. Good question. I think Larry and I kind of favor the veterans we talked about yesterday in our final practice show. You can vote now at foxsports.com on Lycos.
And the reason we would say that, folks, is because this is a 500-mile race on a very difficult and a very unique racetrack, and you've got to be around at the finish. So many times guys run good right up to the last 50, 75 miles, and they just overrun their engines. They've turned them too many RPMs, and they start breaking valve springs and slowing down.
There's veterans and teammates right there. Mark Martin in the 6, Jeff Burton in the 99. They're battling for 9th right now. Mark Martin very happy with his car yesterday. In fact, Darrell, he quit practice early, which is unusual for Mark Martin.
And he was fastest in that final practice.
But, you know, thinking about that, Larry, and you're right, he's probably very happy with his car, but you don't want to put any more miles on your engine here than you necessarily have to.
Jeff Gordon is trying to put 500 miles on his engine out in front, but Ricky Craven is closing the gap. It's down to 1.9 seconds. In third, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and here's one of our 2 Rookie of the Year candidates, Ryan Newman, in fourth.
And it's a different paint scheme, same sponsor. And the Vega on the hood, what that is, that's the new 40-inch television made by Sony. Look at the Fox tracks here. We're looking at the interval. He's about 4.9 seconds behind our leader, Jeff Gordon. And it's staying about the same. There's the speed right there coming off turn 1, about 130 miles an hour. This is down what we call the Long Pond Straight. Long Pond, Pennsylvania is right outside this straightaway. Newman started 15th, and he's moved through this field to 4th.
Well, I think if you look at who his teammate is, Rusty Wallace, and the success that Rusty has had at this racetrack through the years, combine that with the youth and exuberance of this guy here, it wouldn't surprise me to see him up there fighting for the lead before it's all over with.
Let's not forget, for every successful young gun, there is a veteran mentor. As you said, Ryan has Rusty Wallace. Jimmy Johnson has Jeff Gordon. Kurt Busch has Jeff Burton and Mark Martin. None of these young guys are doing it alone. No, they're doing it in the car, but they've got a lot of help behind them. Johnny Benson, first race back for MBV Motorsports in the Valvoline Pontiac. Did he brush the wall here?
Yes, he did brush the wall here.
Boy, and Kevin Harvick in the 29 car, about 4 cars in front of him. He was real loose coming off that.
And what happens is your car's tight, it won't turn, you're back in the throttle. And, buddy, let me tell you, that front end will just all of a sudden take off, and you'll brush up against the outside retaining wall here, over in tunnel turn, and also off of turn 3 over here.
Benson, first race back after those broken ribs in the Busch car.
Turn 1, he's run a little bit low, just getting in, and then he lets it drift out to about the second groove, maybe not quite a full second groove through turn 1. Well, thank you.
You hear the spotters giving those drivers information. This racetrack is so big, and a lot of times they can give you some information that may help you. Matt Yoakum, I believe Ricky Craven's zeroing in on that leader.
Well, you just heard, Larry, Jeff Gordon inquired of his spotter, Ron Thiel, exactly what lane Ricky Craven was running. He could see him slowly closing in his mirror. Gordon finally on lap 12 told his crew chief Robbie Loomis, besides temperatures, the car was just a little bit loose. The car was tight in the final practice session over the tunnel turn. It was extremely good in turns 1 and 3, but the car is just a little bit loose at this early stage of the race.
Trying to find that compromise.
Yes, sir. Jeff Green onto pit road. This is unexpected. ARCA champ Frank Kimmel has already taken his car to the garage area. We've only run 16 laps.
Down in turns 1, down here, then getting onto the back straightaway, you got some banking there to work with. You can work the car there. Oh, he's got a problem with the brakes. He's caught the brakes on fire. Used a lot of brake here.
And sometimes I think trying to help not open more front end, you don't cool the brakes as much as you should here.
One of the things that young drivers have a problem with here is brakes, because you can just hook them, just like he's done in a very short period of time.
Jeff Gordon's 2.7-second lead has been now cut to 1.2 seconds by a fast closing Ricky Craven. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ryan Newman, and Jimmy Johnson, the top 5. 200 laps complete on this unique tri-cornered racetrack of NASCAR. Jeff Gordon still leads, but now by only 0.7 of a second. Jeff Green has gone behind pit wall to repair that brake problem, and Carl Long has joined Frank Kimmel in the garage area.
And I think what you'll see with Gordon there is, you know, he might let Craven close up there on him like he has that, but I bet you Jeff just kind of holds him at bay. Jeff doesn't want to run any faster than he has to right now, just enough to stay out front, I would say. And if Craven pressures him too much, he might even let him go.
First side-by-side battle is at 9th, where Matt Kenseth is trying the inside on Sterling Marlin as they roll down this 3,700-foot front stretch toward turn 1.
I tell you, just to talk about how important shifting here is and having the right gear combination, we heard from our guys in the pits that the 18 car has only high gear, which means he probably has about a 360 gear, and he's running right around 59 flat. Our leaders are running 56.20 something, so it's hurting him almost 3 seconds a lap because his car's just bogging down on straightaways because you don't have that low gear, third gear to work with.
Yeah, it just makes it difficult getting up off these flat corners when it's in overdrive like that. It's probably a .92 overdrive. So, like I say, he's got a pretty high gear up. The good news is it'll take care of the engine. The bad news is he's not going to run very fast.
Yeah, I mean, you're in third gear. That lower gear coming up off every corner. So right now, he don't have the advantage of that.
His teammate's not having such a great day either. Tony Stewart started 7th. You see him shift there, and now he's back to 16th. Matt?
Well, Mike, last week at Dover, Tony Stewart told me he had a lot of optimism coming back to Pocono, where he finished 3rd here last fall. Started 7th, but he's faded back to 16th as Greg Zipadelli reading out the lap times to his driver, Tony Stewart. Zippy, what's he saying about the race car?
It's just loose into 3, exit of 3, just losing all of our time right there, not getting a good run down the straightaway, so we just need to tighten up this Home Depot Pontiac, and we stop here about 10, 12 laps from now, and so we can battle our way back to the front.
Just ahead of Stewart, Ricky Rudd has now moved into the top 16 from last.
But I tell you what may have happened to that race car. Just listening to Matt talk to Greg, I watched those guys this morning. Their car was pushing yesterday. They were doing a lot of things to that car to help the car to turn. What they may have done, they may have planted the nose too much, and they've hurt the rear of the car. They've unbalanced.
Yeah, but I still believe, Larry, my experience here has been this place gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and the cars get to pushing more and more and more. So a little free right now might be a little bit annoying to drive, a little aggravating, but that'll pay off before the day is over with.
Heading for turn 2 down Long Pond straightaway, Jimmy Johnson on the outside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. moves up to 4th.
This is just one of those joints that, I tell you, practice and the race are totally different. The end of the race here is a little bit more like what your practice was.
Well, I tell you, another guy that's fixing to give Dale Earnhardt Jr. a fit is Kurt Busch in that 97 car. Look at him able to get back to the throttle. Looks like Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car just won't turn. He can't keep it down. Busch was able to go around the bottom, pick up the throttle, and stay in it and make the pass.
Takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of discipline not to race people. You could race him. He could race him hard right now, but it would abuse the car, and you just can't do that this early in the race.
And lined up 3 in a row, 3 of the Roush cars.
Yeah.
Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, and Matt Kenseth.
They were all 4 together there a minute ago, Mike.
Yes.
Kind of like they were following each other.
And Darrell, that's a perfect example of what you talked about earlier. Jeff Burton kept that car up high and kept the momentum up, and he was able to stay in front of his teammate, Mark Martin.
Yeah, turn 2, coming off the turn 2 over there, you can get a good run off that corner over there, and if your car's a little tight, coming off high doesn't hurt you. Where it being tight hurts you right now is where they are on the tunnel turn, and then when they get over here to turn 3.
Kenseth leading Dale Jarrett, who passed Sterling Marlin a lap ago, so Jarrett now on the move forward. 13 seconds behind the leader, running in 10th place. He started 13th. Marlin, the point leader, continues to drift back a bit. He has fallen to 11th, fallen in fact into the clutches of Bill Elliott, whose Dodge looms in Sterling's rearview mirror. Jeff Gordon now maintaining about 0.7 of a second on Ricky Craven. 26 laps complete. Pit stops coming in the next 10 or a dozen laps here at the 2.5-mile Pocono Raceway. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. .28 laps, and Jeff Gordon's lead has now opened up to 1 second, a full second over Ricky Craven. Log on to foxsports.com, keyword leader, for your shot at collectible gear from your favorite driver, brought to you by Ultraman Ultra. Well, Gordon must have found a way to run around this racetrack, Darrell, that his car likes, at least for the time being. He's been able to just inch out a little more lead over Craven, and a fast closing Ryan Newman.
Like I said, I think what Jeff did, he had that huge lead. He kind of checked up a little bit. He didn't want to abuse the car. Right now, he's just pacing himself. It's what we always call just cruising right now. He's kind of using that overdrive and taking care of equipment, logging some miles.
But Newman is coming. Steve Burns.
Yeah, Mike, he likes his race car. He said his car's a little bit loose off of turn 3, but that's the only place that it's loose.
Long straightaways and 3 unique corners here. In fact, the front stretch is the longest in all of Winston Cup racing, longer than Talladega by about 150 feet.
And actually, it's a fun racetrack to run because it is different. And you do that little shifting deal. And so there's things that you do here that it's not a monotonous racetrack. You don't just lock it to the left and stand on the gas. You got to be thinking and working all the time here.
You know, a guy I bet that's having some fun today, John Andretti. He was fast in both practices yesterday in the 43 car. He started back in 35th position. He's up to 19th. We've talked about the Childress moving around, a lot of moving around at Petty Enterprises this week. He has a new crew chief, Brandon Thomas, that came from Joe Gibbs, has a new car chief that they moved over from the
trouble down here in turn.
And I just was talking about John Andretti. He's on pit road.
And there's 25 car.
Nemechek hard into the fence going into turn 3. John Andretti had already begun his pit stop, and Kyle Petty is in as well. It's felt that some of the Dodgers don't get quite the mileage.
If they hustle, the leaders in the short shoot, they can get their stop and beat these guys out. They'll be leading the race when these other guys, if they can beat these leaders off pit road.
Sure. Speed down pit road, take the penalty, but get out of there.
Here comes Gordon now.
The 43 is going to make it. It's going to be a little tight on the 45. Remember, the 55 miles an hour.
There he goes. He's got to cross the line. He should be fine. Oh, no, I take that back. Remember what happened to Rusty Wallace?
You've got to get down and past the road.
Kyle's a lap down.
John Andretti's going to be okay.
Kyle just went a lap down, and Kyle should have speeded down pit road and taken the penalty, but instead he just maintained his pit road speed and went a lap down.
We had that situation here last year, and it was very questionable. Rusty Wallace was in the pits, like he crossed the line ahead of the leader, but he did not get back out and into traffic before the leader went by and was adjudged to have gone down a lap. Meanwhile, Joe Nemechek's car sits badly wounded, the car that is, at turn 3.
Well, we talked about how fast that is across that short chute at 180 miles an hour. I always wondered why cars got torn up so badly when they wrecked, because I always thought, that's just that little old short chute. You're not going that fast. Till we got the telemetry in these cars and saw exactly how fast you go across there, now you know why you can crash so hard right there.
Car it has a lot of damage. That car hit hard.
It was going around backwards into the outside wall with a lot of speed.
First caution of the day, Nemechek was in traffic going into turn 3. Did not see if any other cars were involved. But it puts the caution out at lap 31 for the first time. There are your 3 leaders as they'll come around once pit road opens and come to pit lane for service. They're going to tip